Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Today is December 20th. This is the early morning shortened scheduled board meeting from the snow day of last Thursday evening. As we have many conflicts in the evening with concerts and stuff, we have elected as a board to do sort of a business only board meeting, and that is today at 7 o'clock in the MMC. This is being broadcast as well as recorded for others, as well as we have our regular board minutes that will be produced. So at this time, I'd like to turn it over to our board president, Ms. Christine Down.
Okay, can you please join me at the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. First up is the approval of our minutes from last meeting, but before we do that, I just have just something briefly that I just wanted to point out. So I apologize for reading, but I read it. So at the last board meeting, there was an announcement regarding a candidacy for an upcoming local election. It is important to point out that we as a board do not formally endorse a particular candidate or political party. So I recommend that we strike the announcement and comments regarding it from the minutes. So since we have the minutes on, I'd like to ask for a resolution to amend the minutes from last meeting to remove that announcement and those comments. So can I have...
So moved,
Second. So, any discussion or anything on that, or anything else related to the minutes? Okay. So, can I have a motion to approve the minutes? Second. Okay. Vote on discussion on the details. Oh, so we have to vote on that, okay. Sorry. So on the resolution to amend, to strike the comments from the minutes, there was no discussion. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Any exceptions? Okay. Now on to the rest of the content of the minutes. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Any discussion or comment on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay.
Nay.
Any abstentions? Okay. This is the time that we'd open up for any community comments or questions. So if anybody here is from the community, I would ask you to come to the podium, state your name and address, and you have 3 minutes to talk to us about what you have on your mind.
I do, as the superintendent, have a letter that we received from a community group that I'll enter into the record. I'll just surmise it as best I can, but it's an introduction of a group of 7 laymen in sort of local churches. They have sort of a breakfast gathering, I won't say where, but they were trying to be considerate by putting it in writing versus being in person at the board meeting, and they represent some concerns from others, and they're reluctant to necessarily be here or sign the letter because of past issues with Attorney General Merrick Garland's various actions against parents bringing concerns to public school boards. Just on behalf of the board, this board has not had any problems with parents who have brought their own viewpoints, as long as they've been professional and courteous, as we've had over the past several years. And to my knowledge, Merrick Garland has not done anything in Horseheads, nor would we ever ask him to do it, because we have been very purposeful in our due diligence in working with local law enforcement if something is of a threatening or other nature, which I don't believe these individuals are. So I just wanted to do that. For board members, I got each one of your letters here, but basically they're proud of the Horseheads School District, honor the students and graduates from one of the finest school systems in the state, and that you all hold very important positions. They want to promote excellence in education, but they've been seeing in recent reports in many public school systems across the nation that no longer is focusing their curriculum on historical reading, writing, and arithmetic, but rather reading, writing, and radicalization. what started them thinking about this is they just recently got their public school tax notifications, which I hope everybody understands. We've lowered the tax rate substantially over the several years, and I hope they were talking about that too, but we'll leave that for another discussion. And those individuals are welcome to give my office a call. But as far as their concerns are, is that public school education in general suggests, the report suggests that a number of such issues affecting students in today's classroom. Nationwide, parents are pushing back against critical race theory, social emotional learning, gender identity, sexually explicit materials. Most concerning are academic reporting taking a back seat to radical psychology-based and social politically biased educational programs. I'm happy to report I don't believe we see that, and if we do hear or see it, our administration and our faculty sort of take action to make sure that we concentrate on education. Their concern is that school board members should evaluate any and all curricula, which you put it out to our curriculum advisory committee, but we follow the New York State curriculum, which is required by law, and they deviate from it. So I don't think they have a concern, but I wanted to bring that up. But that you should be diligent during your budget discussions to make sure that we are increasing education as well as making sure that our education stays focused on education, not politics, not radical issues and so forth, which I think we're doing. They did mention that, you know, the USA ranks 33rd in the world, 27th in reading, 22nd in math and science, and despite the fact that we spend strongly more than any other nation. Unfortunately, I would help them understand that you can use the national rankings worldwide, but they don't necessarily measure apples to apples because of the fact that every country does education differently. We are one of the only nations, true nations, that educates every child that's dropped at our doors. And we're very proud of that because every child deserves to be advanced. They just wanted to be, they were greatly appreciated being assured that the local school board, through a public statement and approved curriculum being utilized, are in focus of academics and not politically biased. So it's signed by several people. I'll put this into the minutes like we normally do. I just won't call out their name, but they should know that they can come as long as they're professional, courteous. They have their 3 minutes like everybody else. So I think public statement-wise, the board, would you agree that we follow the New York State educational curriculum and we follow anything that requires Title IX, anti-discrimination, and all laws of the United States as well as New York State? And the board affirms that we do that. Is that pretty much how everybody feels? So that's our public statement, so I hope that helps. But again, if anybody from that group would like to reach out and contact me, you're welcome to. I'll be happy to set up a time where we can meet, or I'll meet you for breakfast. So thank you very much.
So now we have our report from Dr. Allen.
Good evening, members of the board and the Merced's community. I'm Tatiana Kopp, and welcome to the student representative report of today's meeting. There have been a multitude of exciting activities occurring at Merced's throughout the past month. We would like to send our most hearty of congratulations to our Unified Raiders Mario Kart esports team for their advancement all the way to championships on Wednesday the 14th. We are so proud of you and all that you have accomplished in your successful season, and we have loved watching all of your achievements. Additionally, this Saturday, December 17th, our girls wrestling team competed at the Union Endicott Tradesman Girls Tournament, in which seniors Haley Berry and Caitlin Wheeler both won their weight class. Many incredible wins were also brought home on their December 4th tournament, in which Mariana Vihey and Chloe Owens were undefeated. We are sending our girls wrestling team the best of luck as they advance throughout their season. Student Council hosted an ornament make and take for students on December 8th, as well as setting up a table at Holiday in the Square this past Friday for kids around the community to create festive holiday decorations. Student Council is also selling candy grams Monday through Wednesday for $1 each during lunch periods. We highly recommend you consider supporting our Student Council and all of the amazing things that they do. The Horseheads High School Orchestra put on a lovely concert for us December 14th, conducted by Director Miss McDonald. If you are looking for another opportunity to support our musicians, you can consider coming to the annual Christmas Choir Concert this Wednesday at 7:30 p.m., in which alumni will be invited to join us for singing our final traditional song selection, Hallelujah Chorus. Finally, we would like to congratulate our very own Career and Development Council representative, Mrs. Lynch, on being selected as the recipient of the 2022 Chemung County Chambers of Commerce Partners in Education Career Achievement Award. We couldn't be luckier to have you bettering our schools every day. This was truly an incredible start to my day, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, now we have our presentations. We're holding those until the next meeting.
Yes, the presentations will have a little longer meeting because we'll probably have to do a little catch up. Well, not catch up with Fridays, but, get back on track. Next month, and we'll do the athletic participation as well as extracurricular.
Our superintendent report.
I do have a couple things just to inform the board about and the community. Mascot image selection is ongoing. I hope, Tatiana, you've heard some things about it as well. We know we've received some already. That goes through the end of January, so if you haven't, please go to our website. The board is going to, how would you say, have to deal with an electric bus issue sooner or later, so be prepared for that. We are looking out at trying to get a grant and doing a study and getting that paid for to find out what our overall needs are as well through the bus companies, because honestly, we don't know if it will fit our district very well, but we're required by 2027 to buy nothing but electric buses, and that's almost double to triple the cost. So we're trying to see if we can get ahead of it as much as possible and start to work into it. With that, I've already reached out to Elmira Heights because we share a bus garage. I've already notified them that due to this possibility of electrification of our entire bus garage, as well as the possibility we may need to add more buses and more fleet because of the short duration times, thanks to the state, that it will become almost impractical to have a share any longer. So seeing how we've got a little lead time, I have a letter that's being prepared to send and give them formal notification so that they can work. Right now, tentatively, we're looking at the end of the 25 school year, sort of when we start to make our whole shift. If we can look beyond that for an additional year, because they're really going to have to build another bus garage, but they are aware of it. They've been made aware of it at the beginning of the year. This is more formalizing it, so I just wanted the board to know. Community engagement discussions. We have a safety committee meeting later today from our community engagement. One of the things is informing our public about what the board's role is and board issues. We'll be bringing that to the next month. But on the safety side, we're trying at the end of January, beginning of February, setting up a community night to come in and talk about what the school does for safety in our buildings in our region and the cooperation that we have with the town sheriffs and local law enforcement. So that would be a topic for our safety committee today. We've reported that we've had some vandalism at the high school in the bathrooms. I want to thank the high school administration, facilities, as well as the students, because the students helped as well. That we have resolved 3 situations which the students have been addressed, and they will have merited out some type of issues with the school and through a hearing process. But on top of it, we will be seeking remuneration. This is more serving as a warning for everybody. The money that goes along with this is in the thousands of dollars. And parents will be shocked when they find that they are expected to cover that cost. I think we've seen less of it, but we still have that ongoing. And we've done this at the graciousness of our school community, and we want to continue doing it, but we have a responsibility to restore it to the situation that the community expects it to be in. So that's just that. 2 last things. We talked about last year in the grant, in the budgeting, the grant position. We've got it set with the CSEA, Civil Service Association, that we've got that formalized now. We are ready to move forward with it. This is actually very well timed because we are going to have to seek a lot of grant funding, potentially for the electrification as much as possible, because we don't necessarily fit the low poverty, high needs school district definition. So we need a grant person to specifically work for us, and that was the focus. So we're ready to move forward with that if the board is okay with us continuing at this point. Okay, so we're all set to go ahead and start posting at that point. And then the last thing is SRO and safety. We talked to you about that. I know Katie has been working with the village. We are trying to get the 6th officer. We are in the process of trying to finalize that going forward. However, there's been about a request for an additional 42% increase in the cost. of our SR program, and I guess whether or not it's valued by the district. We will be finding out what would precipitate a 42% increase in cost all of a sudden. So we will report back to you more on that at the next board meeting, but we find it highly unusual because we already pay one of the higher costs. Because we also include fringe and stuff, because we want to be fair. We don't want the village to have additional costs as well. So once we know more on that, we should be, at that point, I think we're ready to bring on the 6th officer, very close, and all of our buildings would have something. If there is this type of a substantial cost, we will probably reach out to the village to ask what is the issue, because we also have another program. If we have to, we may have to look at that as well. And I think this is possibly trying to force the issue, but yet not say it's on us. And I'm really disappointed that no one has reached out until the 11th hour with a 42% increase. So we'll try to ferret what's going on and try to work it out in a reasonable manner. I think this board has been very good. If there's increased costs that are needed, we have not tried to put that on the village, but 42% is a stiff ask all of a sudden at the last minute. So wouldn't you agree? She's not talkative this morning. Okay, other than that, you know, it's the holiday season for everybody. The kids love the snow days. We have 2 more snow days left. We are reminding people that once we get to those 2 snow days, I probably have another day to give at the Memorial Day week, but we are going to be notifying our staff, just like we're required with the piloting, that if we get to that point at any time, we will move to a flexible workday schedule and try to save the days, because everybody does deserve those breaks as well. So we have a little time. Hopefully the weather doesn't come 2 days in a row again like it did a couple years ago, but we're moving forward, and that everybody should be expecting that flexible work at home schedule to save the days that the state has graciously allowed us. Other than that, wish everybody happy holidays.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
So are we prepared then for the students who don't have devices to be able to still dial into school and be able?
One of the things is we, throughout all of this, we have a very high percentage of students that have access. It's not necessarily the computer issue, it's the access issue, which is a little lower than our ability to have the devices at home. So a lot of it does not mean that you're online every minute of the day. The high school is fully compatible. The middle school would be compatible, but we just have to have contact throughout the day. So a lot of this is really making sure that the information's up, that people can get on it. If anybody has connectivity issues, we still have our local resources from the pandemic of the MiFis or Wi-Fis that can be signed out if somebody is really in need. All they have to do is contact the building principal, and they will reach out to technology to make sure. But for the most part, the digitalization across New York State has done very well, especially in our outer regions, but we can still have problems.
Okay. Our board reports, so audit committee.
Yes, we met last week. Tom Zuber was there to present a couple of the audits. One was the extra classroom activity funds. He had noted that there was, definitely an increased activity over the previous year when the pandemic had been in effect. But overall, the audit was much, much better than it had been a number of years ago, 5, 6, 7 years ago. We've done a similar audit. Some of the items listed included a limited number of profit and loss statements for some of the activities. Each group is supposed to have a profit and loss statement. A few untimely deposits and a requirement to monitor inactive clubs. The other audit is a single audit, and there were no findings there, which is great news. And Katie reviewed the corrective action plan with the group. A number of them have been completed already or will be completed this month. Another, one of the ones by the end of January, and the other one the end of June. And they investigated the 4 clubs that had been inactive during the audit, and they had currently all had financial activity in 2022, 2023. So they were removed from the list. And the full corrective action plan is in the packet today.
Thanks, Brian. Policy committee.
You want me to take it?
Yes.
That's not here?
Yes.
Okay, so policy committee met on December 8th. We had 4 policies that we reviewed as a first reading. You'll see those on the agenda for the board today. 2 of those were deleted in their entirety because they were, one was folded into another related policy and another was determined to be not necessary. And then we had 2 policies that we reviewed for second reading, both of which are on the agenda for approval. And we didn't have any additional changes to those, so they looked the same as to when they came through for first reading at the last meeting. And there was no good of the order to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, our finance items for action, we have 8.02 through 8.19. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second. Any comments or questions on any of these?
I'll just abstain on 8.12.
Okay. Any others?
Well, it's the earliest we ever received that contract ever.
Okay, all those in favor of 8.02 through 8.19, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. And then abstentions, we have Warren on 8.12. Any other abstentions? Okay. Our personnel items for action on 9.02 are HR recommendations. Can I have a
So
motion,
moved.
please?
Second.
Any comments or discussion? Warren?
I'll vote no on D2 and D4. I know it's, the policy allows for it. I disagree with the policy. I'll reiterate, as I did when the policy passed, I don't know these people. I'm not voting against them. I don't know who they are. I just disagree with the policy.
Okay.
I will join Mr. Conklin on that. I'm kind of in a, I don't know, situation because the university that I work for encourages that. So I will abstain.
Okay. Any other comments? Okay. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. And then the abstentions, we have 2 on D2 and D, no, we have 2 nays, I'm sorry, 2 nays on
No,
D2.
Mary Ann abstained.
I'm going to
Abstain.
abstain.
Yeah, Lauren
Sorry,
voted.
Warren voted no, D2, D4, and then abstain. Sorry. All right, our miscellaneous items for action, we have 10.02 through 10.04. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any comments or questions?
I just didn't understand, maybe to me, what 10.04 was in regard to. Could someone just explain that?
That's APPR, Tony. Tony, I'm trying to beat 732.
So the state requires certain state exams to be used for APPR ratings for growth scores for teachers. The high stakes assessments, 3 through 8, the 2 science, and the regions. The 4th grade science is no longer. They've moved it to 5th grade starting next year. This year, there is no 4th grade science to be used by the state to factor some kind of crazy behind-the-scenes score for teachers that teach the 4th grade science or have 4th grade science with their students. It's always been a minimal impact because most of our assessments on 4th grade teachers, their ELA and their math state assessments pull a majority, if not all, of their growth score. So the state said, okay, we're no longer doing the 4th grade. It's in your plan. You have 2 choices: reopen and renegotiate the whole plan, which we're not set to until July, or do this form and remove the boards for this year.
Okay. Okay, so it's removal of the,
It doesn't exist, so
Okay.
yeah,
so it's, okay.
they're actually.
Thank you.
Tony, could you find Bill Jean Coley or one of the tax?
I will.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion? those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions? Okay. Our board policies, 11.01, 11.02 for second reading. Can I have a motion, please?
So moved. Second.
Any comments or questions on either of these? Warren?
So I'm going to vote no on 1102. Part of 1102 has a provision where we can move our K through 4 students if it exceeds class size limitations. While that may be a fiscally prudent policy, I don't agree that it's an educationally sound policy. These are our youngest charges. This policy only affects them. If we had in the hypothetical an influx of 5th and 6th grade students that exceeded the class sizes, we have policies and procedures how to deal with them, and it's not accept them into the 5th and 6th grade. So what we're saying here is if families move into, whether it be Big Flats or Gardner Road or Ridge Road, and exceeds class size, because we can, we're going to ship them somewhere else if it exceeds class size. We have policies and procedures that could address that. This, in essence, says we're going to ignore it. And I don't know, when we send them to an elementary school, part of what our elementary schools do so well is they build a culture and a sense of belonging. And you send a young person there for 1 year and then you ship them back to their homebound school in another year. It just doesn't make sense. And the other thing now, in all our educational reports, we deal with the social emotional, and I don't know if that's big or not. I think it is. And young families moving into the district pick their homes sometimes based on where their grade schools are, and if they happen to come after April 1st, they could be told that they're going to be moved somewhere else. So I'm against that provision of the policy, and it only affects our youngest charges, K through 4. It affects no one else in the district because we can't ship them anywhere else within the district. So that's my rationale for voting no.
I will clarify Mr. Conklin's statements because this has been something the district's been doing for decades. Mostly because there's a limitation on K through 4 class sizes because of the HTA contract. But there is the ability that we can just hire additional staff that are not necessarily always relevant. And the district does take great pride in trying to make sure that the kids are in their home school up till the latest possible minute. However, you cannot create new sections in the middle of the year for somebody moving in, therefore we have to have a mechanism, which we do. We've done it very limited, and we don't allow parents just to pick the schools that they want to, and that's what this policy is really about. The district does not have many needs of using this, except with when there is an overcrowding, because we do allow outside students from outside the district for our employees come, and they take the brunt of it because their decision is made at the last. We always keep in mind the social emotional needs of the students. However, we do also have to keep in mind the fiscal and the timing of it, the ability for the district to operate in a reasonable time. So that's how the policy has been enacted over the past probably 6 years when it was changed to this by a lot of people on this board 5 or 6 years ago that we moved up to the April 1st because there really wasn't a deadline before. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands we don't try to do this as much as possible, but we can't help when people move in, and we don't want to overburden, especially when we have some class sizes of 14, 15 in schools, and other class sizes of 22, 23, that the educational preference for the kids are to try to keep the lower class sizes as much as possible, which gives them a benefit. We don't like the shift, but unfortunately, we have multiple boundaries.
Tom, how often have you had to do that?
Not much.
Handful a year. We had an influx this particular year in August in some of our kindergarten that we didn't have appropriate section numbers in that one building. And so in late August, families were asked to choose another building for the school year. So I think this might have been the first year we had a kindergarten influx that we didn't section appropriately for. Class sections are usually made in June. So they're well established, and even some schools have the teachers meeting the students that they're going to have the following year. So we do, as Tom said, run into an issue when you create a new section and a timeline to do that, or it's not going to happen during the school year.
So what happens next year?
Those students are put back into the numbers of their home boundary, and we create the section if necessary.
So they automatically get to their home school no matter what.
If students remove themselves or we have a decrease in enrollment, or we maintain enrollment, we just have to add section size.
If a student is not able to go to their home school because of that, and they go to another school, are they given the option then to stay in that other school when they
No,
go for the following year?
They're not given that option.
No, we cannot schedule from year to year and allow people just to keep going to other schools. The board has a specific statement in this policy. We have always put them in the boundary schools unless we can't. Because we can't run a bus situation from Big Flats to Ridge Road or anyplace else constantly.
We have circumstances where a student in fourth grade will go to another home boundary in their fourth grade year. Those are taken under serious consideration to make sure that we do well by the child if they've been in that building for 4 years.
Otherwise, what we do have, and we saw it this year and in the years past, people picking schools where schools got overloaded because they were just going, like when we first started, we had 40 kids that weren't supposed to be at Ridge Road going to Ridge Road. And the other schools were under-enrolled and the class sizes were over-enrolled there. That's not fiduciary, and that's what the board asked us to correct in 2016.
That's hard on a kid. That is very difficult on a kid.
But this policy isn't really designed to address what had gotten out of control with families picking what grade school they wanted to go to. We always said,
It absolutely controls
Well-
that now.
well, it does, but now, in addition, it says, if we exceed class size, so you said kindergarten at Big Flats this year, we can move them. But we also have procedures in place, like you said, we could hire staff and keep them in their homebound school district. And
If
we're
you can-
saying,
if
no,
you can
we're not
hire
gonna
staff.
do the other
Yeah.
possible solutions. We would have to do that in 5th grade. We would have to do that in 6th grade.
have
We
not-
just don't have to do it K through
But Warren,
4.
we have not had to do that in 5th grade or 6th grade my entire time here because we have managed our class sizes and got them low. We are not near 25 per class, and unfortunately, the HTA contract says kindergarten through 3rd grade must be 23 or less. And if you go beyond that, so we could have a school with 14, and we could have a school with 23, we'd rather put that class size to 24 than a child in a 15 classroom, yes, for 1 year until we can adjust. And that's only after April 1st because of budgeting. And after April 1st, because it could all of a sudden happen August 15th, and then we have to all of a sudden try to hire somebody, which we may not be able to do because hiring is not that easy right now. And there wouldn't be staff available. That's one of the problems. But we can help that student by getting them to a classroom that is much more lower, possibly of their choice for that year, and then resituate the next year and hire appropriate instructional staff instead of a teacher aide. So it's a timing issue no matter what. The big thing is we very rarely do it. In most cases, we have people that wish to use this policy to say, I want to choose that school. And that we don't do. They go to their boundary school. And we're forced to try to put them in their boundary school at all possibilities. But we have to have a mechanism if we can't do that, either hire somebody or we have this option. We look at both options, but you have to understand, if I have one student that goes in to, I'll just use Gardner Road. Say Gardner Road, and now they're at 24, I have to hire one TA. If I have two students that go into Gardner Road, do I hire two TAs and make two classes of 24? Officially, by the contract, I can put all those kids in that one TA's classroom and just stack that. The district doesn't do that, but we have a better situation for kids to get more one-on-one instruction with a certified teacher, and that's the big thing. And that's what the district's been doing all along for the past 6 years.
I have a question.
Sure.
It says, in these voluntary moves, the guardians of the students selected shall be responsible for transporting their students to school. So, if I understand this, you need to reshift numbers. You ask for volunteers.
If we're in a situation, we can ask for volunteers, and if they volunteer, they're saying they'll take care of transport. If we, like first in, first to move, if we move them, we are required to provide that.
Okay, all right.
Yes.
So
We never would
if
get
you move
volunteers.
them, the parent doesn't have to transport them solely.
And we've never really had to ever ask for volunteers either.
Okay.
Can I just as a procedural comment for clarification purposes, the language that's being discussed has been part of the policy. There are it was rewritten slightly, but I just wanted to make it clear for the record, it's not that this is something that's being added into the policy. It's been part of the policy as it's been in place, for the duration.
Well, we changed that policy 3 or 4 years ago because I remember voting no when the policy was changed. So you're right.
Yeah, I just want to
The
make
language
right
is-
now, it's not a change.
But the language is only 3 or 4 years old. It's not like a 40-year-old language that is being questioned at this point in time. It was questioned 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's fine. I just want to make that point. It's not changing at this meeting or proposed to be changed at this meeting.
Any other comments or discussion on this?
No, I understand what Mr. Conklin's saying, and others about social, emotional needs of students being moved. But I also feel very strongly that the lower elementary grades, really class size is vital. And being able to keep those numbers low with a classroom teacher, I think in some cases, I'm not going to say across the board, can be more beneficial to a student to be able to be in a room with smaller numbers. I think it's been proven that if class size or adult to student ratio is kept at the size kept at a minimum and so forth, that needs, lacks, all those kinds of things can be identified early and become more beneficial as the child progresses into other grades. So, more teaching assistants.
And that is, just to carry on with Marion's comment, that is something the district has been doing over the past couple of years to assist that, which has been the product of the administration of the board. But also, at my time coming in, the average class size, I believe, when we started, Tony, was like 1 to 22 is the ratio. The class size now is 1 to 19, 19.3, I think it is. So that has what, and it's more balanced across the district, especially K-12.
Any final comments? Okay, all those in favor of 11.01 and 11.02, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Nay on 11.02, Warren. And any abstentions? Okay. Moving on to our board policies for first reading, we have 12.01 to 12.04. So any comments or discussion items to bring these back to the policy committee? Okay. And moving on to our board comments, I'd like to open it up to anybody.
If anybody hasn't, I know Doug, but everybody else has had a chance to say.
I just want to acknowledge that Mr. Christopher Bell again had an NFL player on the Minnesota Vikings, wide receiver Jefferson, wear his artwork on a sweatshirt.
Anything else? I'd like to formally congratulate Ms. Amy Williams and Mr. Steve Everhart for the announcement of their retirement and the approval of that today. Thank you for your service, and you still have the rest of the year, but thank you for everything that you've done for our students and our school district.
They've had many years, and they're getting younger every day as we approach the end of the year.
Absolutely. And then finally, I'd just like to wish everybody in the district, staff, students, families, fellow board members, just a wonderful holiday season. Whatever holiday you celebrate, I hope you're able to really take some downtime and have some quality time with your friends and family. So, happy holidays.
Motion.
Okay, you were just going to say something?
No, I was
Okay.
getting ready to do the camera thing.
So can I have a motion to adjourn, please?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Any abstentions?
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. This concludes the December 20th Board of Education meeting of the Horset Central School District. Wish everybody happy holidays, and we'll see you in the new year.